All right, Miss Felipe. All right. A little bit late, but we are officially live. Welcome back to United We Taste. Yay! Felipe is excited. Is anybody else excited? I need y'all to be excited, okay? We are here to talk about Moscato today. If you are new to United We Taste, we've been going strong consecutively for 13 weeks. I still can't believe it. Mama needed a break. I had to go get a tan. I'm back now. Don't worry. Quarantine had us all confused and not knowing what was next, but it's been a pleasure to host this and be able to have Filipe by my side every week to be able to make sure that we're connecting with wine professionals around the world. And we've covered people who work at SOMs from Australia, China, California, and everywhere in between. South Africa, can't forget about South Africa. And so I'm excited to be back with you guys with fresh content, with some fresh, let's say, I'm not wearing my mother's clothes anymore. That was a big thing before because I didn't have any clothes here. So yes, so to have my own clothes and my own life back. But I'm Cha McCoy, sommelier from New York City, currently living in Lisbon, Portugal, and New York City until further notice. And I am the founder of Cha Squared Hospitality Group. And Filipe.
Hi, everybody. My name is Filipe. I'm from Portugal. I'm from a small town called Águeda in the wine region of Bairrada. I work as a business consultant, and I also run a blog called Vinishima. And Cha, I'm very, very excited to resume our tastings after a break of around 1 month. So really looking forward to this one, to talk about Moscato with all these lovely colleagues around us. So let's do this.
And Filipe is in Portugal. You said you was in Agatha. Oh yeah, sorry. All right, Miss T, pick us up.
Oh, okay. Yo, I'm here. I'm Taharii. I am the founder of Hue Society and also the founder of Roots Fund. I am in Philly. No, I'm not in Philly. I'm from Philly. I'm in Atlanta. I've not been drinking. Like going on.
We're not here to judge. Don't worry. We're here to drink with you, actually.
Yeah, but I sound like I'm drunk already, and that's just not it yet. I may or may not be wearing pants, but I'm not drunk. And I'm ready to get this going. Let's go.
And Taharii actually wrote the article I had posted in my caption as well.
Moscato now here.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's that she's here. She was going to join us for another United We Taste session, but I guess the way the law works, knew that there was going to be the proper one.
Hey, you already know.
You had to join us with, so I'm happy to have you here. And to go ahead, we're going to pick up with Giacomo in Italy.
Right. Hi, everyone. And I'm Giacomo Pondini. I'm the director of Consorzio Asti and Moscato d'Asti. Consorzio is the one association of all the producers of Muscat from the ASTI region in the Piedmont region in Italy. Of course, we feel like we are somehow one of the capitals of the world talking about concerning Muscat. So we're quite proud of that, and I'm happy and proud to be here and sharing this with you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting.
So we started from Moscato, now we here, but you really started from Moscato. So we're gonna really open up debunk some myths. We're gonna really peel this back and really see how we can talk about the great Muscat on another level than just what we hear or what we see, especially in the US market. And even when I'm in Portugal, sometimes it's not as held to the same level or esteem as other white wines, or especially sweet wines. And last but not least, we have Femi
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, Femi Oyediran. I'm based here in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm the co-owner and sommelier of Craft Wine Shop and Wine Bar. That's where I am right now. And I'm here to have a good time, pour some wine.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So we have, I mentioned also about my speech that I did for Cherry Bomb last year, which was called or entitled More Than Moscato. And so this is also all playing into the idea that we all know that as persons of color, or even, I guess there was a report in a Nielsen group that said younger women as well as people of color gravitate towards sweeter wines, and more specifically Moscato. And that's why, the Drake song actually makes sense that it goes well with that, because one of his records referred to Moscato, right? And so in this case, we have that component of it, right? So it's like if you want to say the hip hop, the cool factor, that was a new wave when it comes to Moscato, and how the grape became a household name, let's say for people of color. But I would say also there's many of people who've been drinking the sweet wine that know nothing about Drake or the songs, but yet are not judged the same way. So we're going to tap into both of those as well. And then there's also more to the grape of Moscato. And that's why I made sure I entitled this session More to Moscato, so that we can all understand a little bit more in depth about the grape. And we all have Moscatos with us. And I think we all have ones from different countries too, which is going to be interesting. And so I think people normally only think about Moscatos from one place. So we're not blind tasting this episode. We all know we have Moscato. And I don't think anyone is well-versed enough about Moscatos from other regions of the world to be able to identify them. Maybe Femi, I'll challenge Femi, but that's it, okay? But I'm telling you right now, I do not, and I think we honestly said in the beginning, probably besides Giacomo, I can tell you, I do not drink enough Moscato. And then anybody else, do you feel the same way? Do you feel like you should drink more Moscato? You feel like what's the...
I do feel like we all should be drinking more Moscato. I mean, there are so many occasions that every day that pop in front of us that you can, especially in summertime, especially right now, this is the right moment for me. So why not, instead of anything else, why drinking a really cold, cool Moscato Dusty? Sorry, I've already opened up my bottle.
It's okay. No, go ahead and start with your tasting. Go ahead and tell us what you're drinking. Show us the label.
But actually, I don't. As a consortium, we represent the whole producers of Moscato. So I'm not allowed to promote one label instead of another, one winery instead of another. So I can show you the institutional bottle we have here. It only represents the logo of the appellation, which is a night called San Secondo. And this is the Moscato Dusty, because my appellation is composed by two different styles of wine. One is called Moscato Dusty and the other one is Asti. Moscato Dusty, it's a more fizzy wine, while Asti is a more sparkling wine. And the main difference lays in the alcohol content. The Moscato Dusty usually is around 5% alcohol, while the Asti reaches 7.5. Okay. And the other main difference, which I think there are mainly two differences in the two different styles of wine, is the pressure. The Moscato Dusty usually stays around 2.5 bar pressure, so the bubbles are a lot more softer than the other one, which reaches 7.5 bar pressure. So there are two different styles of wine, but they're both relying on the greatness of the Muscat grape. So let's start with the Moscato Dusty. And the nose, of course, we have one of the best what is considered one of the best wineries around here. Of course, I won't tell you the name of the winery, but it has it features all the main characteristic of the wine, which is honeysuckle at the nose, honeysuckle, wisteria, flower or orange flower, a little bit of lemon. While tasting it, there's a good There's a good fizzy sensation, really refreshing. There's a lot of fruit, of course. There's apricot, there's peach, but I would say there's also this little sage in the end that refreshes, that equilibrates the fruitiness with some kind of minerality, some kind of saltiness of the wine that is given by this leaf of sage, that it's really crunchy in the end. So this was my first sip of the day.
What's the, did you say if it had a vintage?
2019.
Did, okay.
Yep.
Any information on the soil? Because I know you know this producer.
Yeah, usually limestone, marl and limestone are the main soils that are used to produce Muscat here in the area. So it's pretty much what characterizes also this wine. Also the minerality might be referring to that kind of soils. So
Okay.
it's limestone and marl limestone mainly.
Got it. And when you talked about the different alcohol or ABV for types, is there anything that somebody would, as a consumer, should expect on price point, the difference between the two? Like is there a reason why, like what's the price point retail for the one that you have?
Yeah, usually the price point should be around, considering a US shop, I would say between around $15, $20. That should be the average price of the bottle I'm tasting right now.
Okay.
So it's there's also mainly a difference between those who are producing Asti from those who are producing Moscato d'Asti. Usually Moscato d'Asti is produced by more small wineries. They produce more artisanal wines. They cover all the production. They make their own grapes. They make wine and they bottle their wines. While Asti, it's it comes from the tradition of the Champenoise started in the 19th century here, and it's still a sparkling wine, but it's produced more by bigger companies instead of the small wineries that are more devoted to the Moscato d'Asti wine. So it's the different also lays in a different price point, of course, and the sparkling wine usually is a little bit lower in price than the Moscato d'Asti.
Okay.
Just because it's made by bigger companies that they produce higher volumes of wine, higher numbers, a higher number of bottles.
Okay. So let's see what everybody else have, because then we'll be able to break some of these down too. Who wants to pick up next doing the tasting for their Moscato?
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, no doubt. So of course, following tradition, I've got some 2019 Moscato d'Asti. This is from La Spinetta. So this is a winery owned by a guy named Giorgio Rivetti and his family. I think they've been making single vineyard Moscato since the 60s. I actually think the wine I'm drinking, they have two vineyards. I think one is Bricco Quaglia, the other is Bianco Spino. I think Bianco Spino might have been like the first single vineyard labeled Moscato, at least as far as production.
And Femi, I'm familiar because I used to sell this one, and they have where you have the gold around it.
Yeah, the gold around it, exactly. This is the gold. The Bricco Quaglia is the blue, the light label. Yeah, exactly. But this is a wine that I sort of have a personal relationship with when I used to work at the Charleston Grill, which is I think one of the greatest wine programs in the country. It's something that we would use as sort of a welcoming gesture at the end of the meal, or just any sort of celebratory gesture for a lot of our guests. So
nice.
Yeah.
We're ready. What's the tasting notes?
Yeah. I mean, you get the whole spectrum. To me, to kind of make a comparison for a lot of sommeliers or people, it reminds me oftentimes of like Cabernet Riesling. So you get, a whole spectrum of citrus flavors. So there's like lemon rind, but I get a lot of like beautiful like nectarine. There's sort of a very like perfume quality about Moscato. So you kind of get this sort of like honeyed apricot, jasmine, rose water kind of component to as well, peach skin. It's really complex when really made well. When you don't get such pungent aromatics in Moscato. They do a really job of making this very fine and very elegant. So you're able to kind of appreciate all those sort of candied citrus aromas, but they come through in a very pleasant way. It's a Moscato that you could have with dessert at the end of the meal, or I could see you having with some summer salads with some little bits of fruit, maybe some Greek yogurt and fruit too.
Great.
Obviously, Giacomo, you were actually very familiar with this one as well.
I'm really happy about the choice. I mean, you had a great choice. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for sharing that.
No doubt.
It's quite a surprise for me. Thank you.
So you earn your trip to Italy.
I've earned my trip. I like it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. I'm ready to roll.
Wait, hold your purses. Hold your purses. Okay, we're giving out trips to Italy.
Taharii? Okay.
Should I go next? So I'm drinking Casanetta Vietti, 2012. So I thought this was fun. I actually have 2 Moscatos, but I wanted to pop this one open because I was asking the group earlier if they ever had an aged Moscato before, like it's the oldest, and it's actually still fresh. I'm really impressed, to be honest, and you can tell this is very well made. It's a lot of honey, but there's still that orange peel, that citrus fruit in there. There's this beautiful like stone layer that you just can't get past. And I could imagine that it was probably a lot more prominent a few years ago, but because, like most Moscatos in Piedmont, it went through a double fermentation to get the little frizzante. So, everything's kind of like settling in, sort of like vintage champagne. And I'm definitely not comparing Moscato to vintage champagne.
You heard it here first. Moscato's the new vintage champagne. Now we're never going to keep it on the shelf.
Well, honestly, I was saying earlier, like I haven't drank Moscato in years. I just don't, it's just not, I'm not a sweet wine drinker. And if I do drink Moscato, it definitely has to have some bubbles to it. Like Moscato is just not my thing. But this is very well made. And I would also like to say that, there's this honeysuckle finish and it's very long and it's still going. Like, I don't even think that I've sipped since I started talking, and this is it's beautiful. I mean, honestly, I could sit here and drink this whole bottle. So it's perfect for like outside sipping by itself because, it does have the very lightweight feel to it, but it would go perfect with a salad that had like peaches or some kind of like, I don't know if they do this in Miami, they used to do this all the time, like mixed salad with like nectarines and peaches and all that kind of stuff with the arugula. I think it would be perfect with that, but also with some ice cream. And then y'all gonna side eye me for that, but I need a balance sometimes. Like not even really ice cream, like sorbet kind of.
Okay.
Right, not ice
So I
cream.
can see that. A nice lemon sorbet.
Right.
Nice sour and sweet.
Mm-hmm. But it's beautiful. I'm really impressed. I'm gonna be honest. I was
Bring the label up one more time slower for us. So
so they, they're one of the older families, if I'm correct. And they've been around since the 19th century, but they really started like taking off with the wine thing in the 20th century. And yeah, it's pretty good.
All right. Well, it sounds like we got you like maybe wanting to have Moscato again sooner than you originally planned.
No, just today. Just today.
Okay.
Occasionally, a really well-made Moscato is good. The first Moscato I had was Charleston, the one with the orange. It's really you know what I'm talking about. It's literally. Because I didn't start with Moscato like most people start with like sweet wine. I started with Riesling. So I kind of went straight into like acid. But this Moscato in particular, it's like sipping on a cloud of peaches. Like it's so fluffy and beautiful. And that is literally my favorite Moscato in the world. And I can rarely find it anymore. And I don't know why I held on to this 2012 for so long. Probably because, I was like resisting. But Moscato, when it's well made, is definitely, I just think people should drink good Moscato. If you're gonna drink, please drink good Moscato.
That's an action.
That's the thing.
Look at that.
Well, I had talking about old vintages for Moscato. I think the pairing usually the older the wine gets, the better if it matches with some seasoned cheese or something really that needs something to be bared with. That beating, that bite needs to be balanced by something sweet, but at the same time with acidity. So it's you made me think about a dinner I had a few evenings ago, and we had a 2006 with some good cheese, and it was wonderful together with it at the end of the meal. Instead of the usual dessert, why don't try with some cheeses?
Yeah.
So it's a good idea also to stick to old vintages. Great choice.
All right. Me and Filipe, just to give you a heads up, we never on the same page, okay? But I think today we're gonna be on the same page. Come on, Filipe, tell me what you got.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So before I talk about my wine, just a small intro about Moscato in Portugal. By the way, we call it Moscatel. And it's usually fortified wine in Portugal. It's most of the times the poor relative of fortified wines in Portugal. So on top you have port wines, Madeira, and then you get Moscatel. We have two main regions. One in the north, in Douro. They even use Moscato. They call it Muscat Blanc in Douro. And they really incorporate on the white ports. So they put a part of Moscatel or Moscato on the wine. And on the southern part, near Lisbon, Chanos and Setúbal, there's always, it's also very famous, the Moscatel there. We also have some sparkling wine made from this grape in Portugal. But it's really very small quantities, and it's really not that popular. So it's the fortified wine style which is more popular in Portugal. It's usually drink it as a dessert or as an aperitif. So that's it. So the wine that I brought today, it's from uptown in Douro. It's from a small town called Alijó. And it's really a fortified wine, 17 degrees alcohol, beautiful amber color, as you can see.
Is
nice
it that looks like Madeira or Carvahlo?
Yeah.
What year is it?
It's 2015, so not that old. Beautiful color, as you can see, nice viscosity on the nose. Very aromatic, of course, hints of floral, some orange peel here. Very elegant. On the mouth is beautiful, very elegant wine. Beautiful balance with acidity. Again, some floral, some citrus, turning into some nut here at the end. So it's beautiful, elegant, not that boring. It would pair very well with the goat cheese. We have some nice goat cheese in Portugal, so I think it would pair very well with that. So a toast to you and to Moscatel.
Brilliant.
Cheers, brother. So it's funny. So I only have one with me, one from Stubble. And I was like, nah, I don't want to open it. I'm one of those, like, I'm a wine hoarder. Some people want to call themselves the collector. I'm okay with calling myself a wine hoarder. And that's why I said I know me and Filipe is probably going to be on the same page here, because I made sure I actually was looking for this one that I love. I actually used it for a community event that I did a few years ago, and it was a dry Moscato. And everyone was not ready for that. They were like, what? So I realized that we have a lot to uncover about the grape, and it's Italian. It was from Sicily, to be exact. And so I was looking for that one, couldn't find it, but it is great. So I went the other route. I said, okay, let's do one from outside of Italy, just to talk a little bit about Muscatel, but in the dessert wine style as well. So I have a Spanish one, which is very much like, it's crazy because yours is so dark, and it is fortified, just like the ones from Portugal. But to have a nice extension, you look at the colors, like it almost looked like flour water. And it's not as thick as you would think for like the viscosity for the ones that I get from Stubble in Portugal. So just to even, let me go through the tasting and I can talk about why I think, understanding this grape on a higher level is important too, especially with the diversity of pairings. So I actually did get a lot of peaches, but in this case, it was like white peach, more of a floral aroma on the nose. Honeysuckle was dominant the flavor. It was actually overpowering the fruit aromas on this style. There was this salinity that you can even smell, but that may have a lot more to do with the fact of the alcohol. I don't know if you mentioned your alcohol, Filipe, but mine's is 15% ABV. And I think when people think normally about Moscatos, they're thinking about the low ABV versions that are on the shelf, like Giacomo just said earlier, about 5%, 7%. So they don't, this is almost like the people who love port, but they love Moscato. They like Moscato d'Asti. So you look for Muscatel or Muscatel from Portugal, you actually have the best of both worlds in some way. In this case, mine is from Spain, the Alicante region. And there's a lot of history that goes into that. And that's part of the reason why I also moved to Portugal, largely the Iberian Peninsula, is because one of the first grapes noted to show up on the Iberian Peninsula was the grape of Muscat d'Alexandria. And it was brought to this area just from a farmer. Actually, they have it noted as a Muslim farmer. And so actually understanding the cultural connections between Black and brown people and, where we may stereotype us today, maybe the cheat code is because Muscatel is in our DNA. Maybe nobody know that. Like we gotta break it down,
Yeah.
So maybe we may be having an affinity because it's our ancestors telling us this is our nectar, So I'm like, we gotta make sure we really understand the grape. Don't bash it. Just accept it, But maybe we gotta do better, drink better, right? So in this case, in the 1400s, we have this Muslim, as identified in texts from my studies there, they have a Muslim farmer. And literally, if you know anything about, obviously, the religion, they do not drink alcohol. So he's just basically bringing over grapes to the Iberian Peninsula. And from there, Muscat is where, everything is loosely, when you're looking at text that's been translated like 5,000 times. And that's why I got to make sure I learn Portuguese soon. In Spanish, they're basically giving you information that he had no intentions besides trying to get rich in this new country, newfound land that he landed on. So in the Moors, obviously what predates him, he started doing this kind of trading spices, land for these Muscat grapes. What actually happens with the grapes on the Iberian Peninsula ends up being brought on by other local Spaniards. And so the story has it that when you actually learn about Alicante, it's like this red clay soil, very low vines. And so you can imagine, we already heard that the one from Asti is on limestone and marl. So that's completely, even if you just looked at pictures and you have no idea what these words were saying, it looks nothing alike. It's almost like a desert clay soil when you look at Alicante. And they're very proudful of this grape and the region. And Muscat is the parent of a lot of grapes, and people just don't talk often enough about that. So we do have Muscat d'Alexandria, which we know, who then mutates to other versions. And Giacomo, please help me. What's the name of the parent of the one from Asti? They said it's not Muscat d'Alexandria, it's another version.
Moscato Bianco, white Muscat.
And
white.
So in this case, are they cousins? Are they brothers? Are they, parents? So there's this, and then they mutate to create something new, which is offspring such as Torrontés down in Argentina. So those of you who are I don't want to do Moscato, but maybe want to do something different, maybe going with the Argentinian Torrontés may be a good way to get you to still have that, elevate your Moscato life. Maybe you want to do something new. But I think this is a cool way for us to just show the diversity of it. And it's offspring that is like now sprinkled around. You know, I've never had one from Australia. I don't know if any of you had Moscato from Australia. Have you? Oh, I thought you said, yeah, you did. I don't know if any of you had any from Australia, but
yeah, I mean, they do like the stickies, like the Rutherglen Muscat is kind of like a big thing, but you can get like late harvest Muscat and stuff like that from all over. Yeah.
So I made sure I wrote this down because I knew I was going to mess up the spelling of this. Now, this is just a bonus round. What is Muscat in South Africa called?
There are a couple names.
This is almost like how you would say Chenin Blanc is Steen.
Like Steen.
Yep. So what is the Moscato for South?
God, what is
it? It's like Cap something, right?
No, that's Cape Classique.
Sparkling.
I think it's known as Hanapoot, and then there's another name.
Ding, 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 ding. Femi get the grand prize. Yeah.
Yeah, Femi's going to Italy.
Well,
First class on the flight to Italy.
Supply. No, but seriously, I mean, sorry to cut you off. I just wanted you to, like, people do not understand that, you know, the grape is disguised in other names. They even have lineage to the grape Malvasia, you know, which is in Madeira, you know, so, or Malmsey, you know, so in this case, we just need to stop acting like Moscato is like, because then it's the people who are like, oh no, girl, I'm above that. I don't drink Moscato. So then it's this kind of like creation or barrier of people who think that drinking Moscato means you are not educated or that you have no idea about wine. So we're gonna go straight into like the question period now that I've kind of given some context. Again, I didn't say anything about pairings, but mine's is, you know, it is actually fortified a bit in its vinification. And so it is, even though it's still light and not syrupy, like I believe Filipe's probably is, to still have a nice clean feel. The first thing I want to do with this, if I want to actually like drink it, not in a wine glass, but probably drink it in like a cocktail glass and actually come up with a cocktail with it. So this is a nice way to make a nice ABV mojito, or even think of a way, because it gives me nice citrus notes, peach notes. So I like having, how do I use this in a new way? Not even like wine, but more like how you would make a cocktail with a sherry in this case. And so I first, as soon as I taste this, the honey notes, the orange oil, like the peel of the skin is what I taste. And then peach comes second. So the honey makes me like want to make a nice floral note, like balance that, you know, that's the best part about cocktails. We can start adding other ingredients. So put some limes in there, some lemons, so it can balance it and have an awesome low ABV cocktail. So yeah, I thought of it like as I was having it, because I haven't had this in some time. And then there was a gentleman who walked into the wine shop the other day. He was interested in what I was having, and I told him he wanted something that was going to pair with dessert. And I actually told him the best cake that he was going to have was going to be the carrot cake. So the cream cheese frosting on a carrot cake in this would be excellent. So I think this is an awesome dessert wine with a dessert pairing, or just to make as a nice cocktail. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so we have this long story, this long history. I even like, if you really want to get caught in the rabbit hole, do research on where was the first Moscato ever, like Muscat. Trust me, I'm sure somebody needs to be writing a PhD on this, because there's like no information out there that's easily to find. Somebody will have to pay me to do like research to actually figure this out, because there's a lot of like, oh no, over here in Oman, because they have a city named Muscat. Oh no, over here in Greece, because of this. So everybody's claiming that they're the originators of Egypt. Say it again. Egypt, because of, especially the Alexandria strand. So there's a lot of places that no one sounds like they have the definite, this is where it really comes from. And I think that it's, and now that it's been spread all over the place, South Africa, we talked about Argentina, Australia, the different names, even anybody who does love Pisco from Chile, Pisco sours, Pisco, the grape of that is actually Moscato. So the grapes that they pick to actually make Pisco. So I think that we are not understanding Moscato to its more, it needs some shine, it needs some love, right? And so, I want us to give that moment right now, and for us to talk about how we would like this grape to be elevated, maybe from the versions that you heard one of us have had, or maybe if there's a new way, like, especially guacamole watching from the consortium, maybe there's a new way you think, like, in 5 years, if we can get Moscato to do this, what would be the goal you would want people to understand about the grape? And that could be on a consumer level, because for me, I'm going to ask you questions about being in a shop. T, with the events, maybe you stay away from serving Moscato because of that connotation, but if you was to include it, how would you want to do it? So just think of how can we actually help elevate this grape. Now hearing about all of the different layers and versions of it that's out there.
As a consortium, we have also the goal to promote Muscat as a dry wine. We have a laboratory within the consortium that has been working on also a different style with where the sweet part of the wine should be less highlighted. So we're trying to work more on a 360 wine where you still have an aromatic grape, Muscat, but you can pick the kind of sweetness you want. So it's of course it's going to be the sweet part is going to be the most important part of this wine. Is going to be, of course, that's why it's going to be recognized in the world. This wine, the awareness from this wine comes from the fact that this aromatic grape has to bring a sweet to a sweet wine. But given the fact that people still at the same time loves Muscat, but also want to try something dry, we're working on different styles of wine. And our code of production soon is gonna also embrace dry, brut, and so-called Secco wine, Secco Asti. There's already a small production of Secco. There are a few wineries that are bringing on the market this new style of Asti, which is 100% Muscat, but in a dry version called Secco. There's still the aromatic part of the grape that always is there, but you can also taste the wine in different pairings or in different kind of mixologies. Like you said, maybe it could be a good chance also to taste the Asti, this Muscat wine, with other blendings, kind of, I'm thinking of the so-called spritz that could be also
Secco spritz.
Yeah,
or here first. Yeah, this sounds like a wave.
Or the Negroni Sbagliato, or the wrong Negroni. I don't know if you ever heard, but it's a red vermouth, bitter and sparkling wine. In this case, would be the right choice. One of our Asti Secco. So it's gonna be. This is our goal for the future.
Okay.
The sweetness is important, but also we're gonna bring to those who love Muscat also a different style of wine.
Okay, and I think the cool part.
I don't know what you think about it. I would like to have a few impressions from the sommeliers here with us. So, what do you think about this? I don't know if you ever tasted some Secco, Asti Secco. Actually, there are just a few wineries that are producing it right now, so it's not easy to find it on shelves, but maybe it could be something for the future.
The pairing I did with it is what I was going to actually bring up, so maybe that would help too. Even though it was the version from Sicily, which is supposedly more contributed to the Alexandria version of Muscat versus the white, and I immediately, because I was doing a Roman dish, and so or Rome-focused pairing, and so we did the artichokes in 3 ways, and then I paired it with the dry Moscato. So that green note, that thyme that you had brought up, and we all know that grapey flavor that comes from it, scientifically from the grape, it ended up going perfectly because we have the Jewish style artichokes in Rome where they fried hard, like deep fried, and so that balance of the umami flavors of the crispy green with it was like outstanding. That was everyone's like favorite dish of the night for that.
And the tannins of the artichokes you needed to balance with something.
It was perfect.
Yeah,
it was perfect. So that was just and that's why I knew, like, oh, okay, for this one, let me go find that dry Moscato I did for that pairing then. But I don't know if anybody else had any experience with dry Moscato.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've had experience with dry iterations of Muscat, not from Italy. But I don't know if that's what we were focused on specifically. But yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of Muscat from Alsace, France, Muscat from the United States. Actually, Michael Cruz just released a single vineyard Muscat from California recently. It's pretty delicious. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I used to work with it a lot. It's definitely further along in the meal, if that makes sense, you know, versus the sweet, semi-sweet or sweeter version, depending on which one you have. But really, I think that not to change gears here, but I think that the thing with Moscato is marketing. So if we're talking about how to propel the grape into a different frame of mind when people think of it, it's marketing. So, you know, if you're trying to weaponize it, then yeah, it's going to be low standard, yada, yada, yada. But I've never actually had those experiences with like, am I allowed to cuss? That's usually the first question that I ask whenever I start something. So I forgot to ask early. But like, you know, I've never really had those experiences with like shit Moscatos. But the problem is that's all they market to a certain demographic. So if we're talking about marketing and Moscato and how to elevate the grape, I don't think that the grape has an issue with elevation. I think that the idea of who you're marketing to and what kind you're marketing has the issue. And when you're trying to weaponize it and make it a low grade thing, then, you know, now we're drawing on all of these different experiences like, oh, Moscato d'Asti, Moscato yada, yada, yada. And the majority of the issue is, again, that's just Moscato that they're trying to, they push into urban neighborhoods. And that's just the truth. Like, you can't really even find good Moscato in urban neighborhoods if you really think about it, especially in state stores and stuff like that.
And how much of this is actually Moscato, as in Moscato d'Asti, versus maybe some Moscato from Chile that's sold as Moscato?
It's
I guess that's curiosity for Giacomo, and also is it DOCG Moscato d'Asti?
Exactly. There's a great issue for us that actually, from a commercial point of view, if you have Muscat written on the label, it's not so different from Moscato d'Asti. I mean, it's quite easy to read it as a wine from a specific area of the world. So it doesn't help us to promote the territory, the appellation, the quality that thousands of growers put in their efforts every year to produce the high quality grapes that are needed for the Moscato d'Asti. And when you see Muscat on the label, that doesn't tell you where that must is coming from, because usually there's must that is coming from more than one place that it's blended, and then it's made wine as a wine and sold. So it doesn't. As a consortium, what we're sticking to, it's trying to promote, of course, the territory that's behind the wine, and that's really the effort for us, because it's really hard to reach everyone that in the world of Moscato, and we would like to have a chance to explain the difference. Because if you come over here, you can see where those grapes are coming from. They're coming from hills, steep hills. You can even use any mechanical to reach the grapes on the higher levels. You need your hands, you need baskets, you need to go up and down the hill, up these steep slopes to bring down the grapes to make the wine. So there's a great work behind it, and it's really hard to put it on the label. I mean, you cannot write on the label everything, and sometimes not even enough to write Asti. Moscato d'Asti is not even enough. So what we have to do is to promote. And at the moment, it's really hard to promote our appellation, because, of course, usually we organize events all over the world, but at the moment it's quite impossible. And we can not only, I mean, it's not enough to go through the online. We're doing a great job today. Thank you for giving us this chance, but there's a lot more to be done. Yeah, and explain how you can pair, of course, and it's important to make people understand the pairing of the wines, because one of the many things is that Moscato d'Asti is good on its own, but it matches so many different kind of styles of food and cuisine. From, I don't know, I'm thinking about Indian dishes, spiciness, and hot meal dishes that really match perfectly. When you talk about with sommeliers and you talk about ethnic food. They say that usually when you have a spiciness, when you have hot dishes, sometimes the demi-sec champagne is the perfect one. So why not a Moscato d'Asti that has the sweetness of a demi-sec, has the fizziness, it has everything. So it's something that we have to push this idea that there are so many different kind of styles of cuisine in the world, and you can't always be adding to a champagne to have the right match for the food. So,
and it sounds like support is needed, right? I mean, if the large brands that are reaching the markets that we in, hey cutie,
hi,
if they're the ones that's the, like, I can tell you, I remember the exact moment that Bartanoa came into my life. It's kind of, it's not nothing special. Just want to let you know that I do remember it. My mom got it for Christmas. One of her colleagues that was doing exchange, she said she liked wine. I don't know how many years ago this is now. But I feel like it was actually like maybe even new to the market. I don't know. This was a while ago. And it was this blue bottle. Everybody was like this pen. And everybody was all in love with this blue. And it was like the go-to. I was like, she's all in love with this wine. I don't think I've even heard of the grape before at that time. I was like, I didn't even know it was probably from Italy. So this is like dating myself. This is like probably 10 years plus or so. I remember her getting it. She was all in love with it. And no one knew how to say it, but they knew they loved it. Or they only asked for Bartanoa and they didn't know that it was a Moscato. So then that took some education too. So there's a lot. The fact that a lot of people are spending money in urban neighborhoods as people who just love sweet wine, let's just say, also like clearly people are willing to spend the money on it. I guess, so it can't be a lack of funds. Like I work with small wineries who don't have the money in small regions that don't have money in Portugal. That's who I talk to. That's who I work with. So it's interesting that a region like Asti, which I have been to, by the way, but I came there because my Zio, who lives there, he was making sure that I had a trip throughout Barolo. Like I just was like, I'm on a Barolo hunt. So I didn't have anything from Moscato. Let's make that clear. I didn't have anything that was Moscato. I was like, I only drink Barolo now. So I just to make it like, I think there's a way, going back to the comment about marketing, you have the funding to do it. There's no way I cannot sit here and believe that you don't have the funding, right? But how do we actually make sure that the ones that we're all drinking, this 360 that you're going to create, that is not, if all the money is going to go to the big brands and they're going to push up, we can't stop them from pushing out crap. So that's still going to happen regardless, right? That's where they make their money. But there's a lack of education for the people who will be willing. My mother would be willing to pay $25 for a Moscato. She just don't know that it exists. She doesn't know why she should spend $25 when this one is $8. No one's giving her that connection. And of course, this is, the breadth of why I do what I do, et cetera. And what we all do, we do through events, through wine shop sales, et cetera, and in the restaurant. But it's kind of like, this is a grape that needs no help. Everyone knows how to say it across the world. Everyone's already buying it. So we just got to make sure that the branding gets a new look and, a sexier feel, an elevated feel. And that's why I keep using the word elevated. So in this case, I hear what you're saying, but I also don't know if the approach is being taken seriously on how to outnumber let's say the market value of the cheap ones. Or is everybody just sitting back like, you know what, we're okay. We're making enough money from the Bartanoas of the world. So we're just going to keep pushing that. And then hopefully the ones who are educated enough, they'll buy this other good stuff that we had. Or are you actually increasing production of the ones that are good so that they can be on the same shelves? Like if they're not there, no one knows to get them. So I think that's also a matter of the complexity with the region, I would say. So go ahead, T, you have something?
Yeah, I think that, obviously good Moscato is more expensive than cheap Moscato. I mean, the stuff with the...
That's all wines, right? You spend $25 on a Moscato, just like if you spend $25
but
on...
again, like aside from the marketing, you have to look at the gatekeepers, right? So SOMs are gatekeepers.
Right.
SOMs make or break grapes and wines and all of that kind of stuff. Like orange wine wasn't a wave until SOMs jumped on it. Jurda wasn't a wave until SOMs jumped on it. So I think that we need to start focusing, I think a lot of focus goes into like distributors and importers and stuff like that. When if the demand is there from the consumer, the SOM is going to break that grape or break whatever region or whatever the new thing is. And not the Moscato's new, obviously, but I think more focus needs to be emphasized on the actual gatekeepers and recognizing that sommeliers are gatekeepers, specifically for like wines that people don't know. They love that stuff. They love like, oh my God, let me tell you about blah, 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 you know? So if we start targeting different, instead of targeting consumers in necessarily like wine shops, a lot of these things get broken in restaurants and, you know, or for people who were SOMs in stores, you know, but were in a restaurant, still this coming from a restaurant. I think that's something to look at as well, because, you know, we do, well, I don't do that anymore, but they do have that power. And I think it's kind of overlooked a lot of times.
Well, I'll have Femi jump in here, but I can definitely stand up and say that, you know, when we talk about, again, my mother, a Black woman who did have the disposable income to be able to spend $30 on a decent bottle of wine, if she knew it existed when she walked into the retail store, if she loves Moscato, if she wasn't my mother, I have the ability to introduce her to something that's elevated beyond the $8 commercial version or supermarket ones. And I think that is actually the entry, because my mother may not go to a restaurant where there is a SOM serving her, but she knows the grape already. So she doesn't need an introduction to the grape. She just needs to understand its levels or its variety. So Femi, I don't know if you want to talk about the idea of how do you reach, or even classifying, is most of the people coming into the store based on race, drinking more sweet wine, or everyone's drinking sweet wine?
I think that everyone has what they do, and you know, that is just, you know, the facts of, you know, whether it's music, wine, or whatever it is, people have just what they do, and we see a bevy of it come through our doors. And I don't really discriminate on what anybody wants to drink, period, because my goal is to give you what you want, but quality. And so, I mean, I can speak to both the difference of working and having worked in fine dining for over a decade, and then now segueing to a situation to which I actually do both in the same room, where I'm literally doing bar sales and retail sales in the same space. I think that people, I think that there are definitely some people that are looking for sweeter style wines, and which we definitely give to them. We, you know, don't want them to not feel that they're not included in the experience of drinking wine. So we don't have any sweet wines by the glass, but we always have bottles that are open in our cooler. So if someone says I need a sweeter wine, there's like options, and, you know, we don't mind opening a bottle to find something somebody can drink. So number one, the core perspective on that is hospitality, one. Two, I mean, yeah, you know, Moscato is a delicious beverage for a lot of people that have never even really heard of it before. Some people that are normally accustomed to drinking cocktails, which, you know, are inherently probably sweeter than a lot of wines, you know, they do find some connection to drinking like Moscato, or even like Brachetto di Acqui, you know, have always been sort of like really great pivots to people that maybe are like, well, all we drink is Riesling. You can get them some really beautiful Moscato di Assi, some light bubbles, which is also a great brunch beverage too. So, I mean, I often tell people like, hey, you don't even need to mix the orange juice. Like, this is really just what you want flavor wise. But yeah, you know, a restaurant situation is really different, because I think that for people, you know, if you're going to try to sell someone a bottle of Moscato, I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the most responsible thing to do for like an entire like 3-4 course meal. But, you know, I think Moscato is really useful as like a glass pour, or even like doing like, you know, like Giorgio makes, you know, half bottles of the Bianco Spino and the Bricco Quaglio. So I think like half bottles are really great. Maybe at the end of your meal, just having some Moscato and play it with your chocolates and cheese is really great. Or like I said, you know, or he said, you know, Asian food is really great. So I think it's, for me, you know, I see it more of like a glass pour, like, you know, like here's, you're having this bite, here's this, and then, you know, I have to keep a few bottles of Moscato around. I live in hot Charleston. You know, what's better than on a really, really hot day than having some super cold Moscato when you wake up in the morning, you know? So. I think you just, for me, I try to find out what people want, what they like, and and if there's an opportunity for me to use a wine like this, and like, what are you doing today? I'm hanging out on my porch. Take one of these, get it real cold. There's a lot of uses that you can do for Moscato.
All right. And that kind of ties into my last question, which is, I know you're so much a consumer, your clients who come in, but you can answer for yourself. Where would you like to enjoy your Moscato? So tell me about a moment, an experience where you feel like the Moscato that you're either drinking or maybe someone else is drinking, that you're like, this is the perfect moment for Moscato. So it doesn't have to be in a restaurant. It could just be, part of an experience. So Femi, but you can't take my answer, which is we're all in Asti together. That's my answer.
We're all in Asti together.
That's my
You
answer.
already have your flight, so you're not.
So I don't know. I mean, I think that, I like I said, I have not a romantic history, but I have a personal connection with Moscato because the restaurant where, I cut my teeth and worked for years and really learned not just wine, but I learned hospitality. We would use Moscato as a tool if anything went wrong, if it was a celebration or anything, like any by all means necessary. You can use the La Spinetta Moscato, and oftentimes it made such a impact. The way you do it, the way you use it, the way you talk to people, the way you show up at the table, and the way you put the glasses down, it would make such a moment for a lot of people. And I think, even for me personally, I think that just to have any little moment after dinner and share a glass of Moscato, for me, is sentimental in one way. And, it's light. It's not going to, after you've had a ton of food, you don't want to have some rich, sappy dessert wine or, whatever. So having just like a light splash of Moscato can be just brilliant and lovely at the end of a meal. And so
this one I have.
There you go.
I think this one is like right in that in between because it's not that extra.
Exactly. It's
okay.
Yeah, for sure.
We're all coming down the graph and we're having a nice little.
Hey, bring it.
They just with Femi there.
Yeah, okay. That'll be good. We'll do it.
Filipe, where are we enjoying your Moscato?
Well, with these hot days, I've been drinking a lot of cocktails. To be honest, I've started with port tonics, and lately I've been trying to do the same with Moscato. And the result is it's really interesting. It's very refreshing, and at the same time, you have all the DNA of the Moscato there, so you can have both of two worlds. So. On these hot days in Portugal, I would try a cocktail with Moscato for sure.
Okay. Another one. T, tell us where we at with you? Where are we enjoying your Moscato?
Oh, what do you mean, like location-wise?
With everything. All of us is with you. We're enjoying.
You know what?
We're drinking your bottle. Where are we at?
Oh, I feel like this bottle needs to be outside. Like, I need to be out. I miss Miami for the weather sometimes, and because this is not like syrupy and like super sweet. The reason I don't like I'm a savory person, so I don't really like any kind of sweet stuff, right? So, and especially like if it's not worth the calories, like your stomach starts expanding that whole thing. I'm just like, no, I'm good. But no, this is beautiful for like outside, like on the beach. Like I used to love to go and sit on the beach and just like put my feet in the sand and just like watch the ocean. It just reminds me of that, just like super chill. But it also reminds me of like the dinners that I used to do when we used to do pairing dinners. And in between like pairings, we would serve sorbet as an intermezzo to cleanse your palate. But I feel like this could definitely like be served in between the meals to cleanse your palate. And I think that that's really cool too. And, I always say wine is about memories. So I think that this is the kind of great way to include Moscato in that whole like dinner thing. I love dinner parties and all that stuff. So yeah.
All right. So it sounds like we're at your dinner party in Miami. That's cool. I can do
Yes, outside.
on the beach.
On the water. Yes, on the water. We have to be on the water.
Yeah, that's a whole moment. Yeah, like I'm ready for that. And Giacomo?
Given the temperature outside, I'm thinking about Christmas time, just because it's so hot outside. No, I need some. I'm thinking about the temperature outside, and I want to something cooler at the moment. I'm joking, of course, and yeah, it's celebration. It's celebration. Wine for me mainly doesn't. I'm not talking about Moscat, but wine for me is celebration. So it's celebrating with friends, celebrating a dinner, celebrating a moment. So it's sharing with others, with friends, and this time of the day, 7 p.m. outside here in the center of the city with friends, I would go for it right now. Why not? Instead of the usual drink, it's ready, it's there, it's refreshing, it's a splash of acidity and fruit, and what's better than that right now?
Yeah. Yeah. Besides the moment when we all get to Asti and get to enjoy it, I really do think of this, or the specialist style that I have, either, especially I think because it's from Spain, like I want us to go down in Valencia and have a moment in the city. And they big about cocktails with wines as well, the Spaniards. So I'm all into this. So whatever their version of the spritz would be, or even if I was in Italy, was basically creating a spritz or this cocktail moment. But I do see it as a city. I want to be in the city. I'm not thinking about the beach. I want us to be maybe in a hot city on a rooftop. This is a rooftop wine, so, day parties, looking sexy, got the glasses
And
on,
dresses.
get the dresses on. This is a moment. I really feel like this is something. Well, when you come to Portugal, that's all they do in the summertime. And but with the Moscato, it doesn't mean the same thing in Portugal though, like as it does in Spain and as it do in Italy. So hopefully we'll be able to be on that rooftop when we come to Italy and have that moment in real life. So I just want to thank you, Filipe. We're good over on YouTube.
All good.
All right. So thank you everyone who is going to watch the replay. And I know I kind of did not put the information about everybody's wines up first. We missed Helen from California, but we'll definitely have a moment with her soon. But I'll definitely list her Moscato that she was going to drink as well on the website, just so if anybody loved what we were saying and wanted to get more into the groove of what we're all drinking, then you can follow up with us there and actually get more information about everyone who joined us. So thank you everyone for joining. Filipe is going to take our selfie at the end. You want to do it now?
Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, let me get a little more wine too. Femi, we need to come back to
Okay, hold on.
the light. Come into the light.
Come into the light. All right.
The bottle.
He's like, I gotta pour more. He's over there filling orders, got the music going. He's
No,
like,
it's okay. I'm not working today.
oh, you're not? Okay, good. You're working with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Perfect.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you guys.
Yes.
Cheers.
Really,
No doubt.
All right, to Moscato.
pleasure meeting you.
To Moscato,
Thank you.
indeed.
Thank you,
All right,
guys.
everyone.
Hope to
Thank
see you soon.
you, Chap.
Physically.
You